Text out to the trustees just to remind them that we do have a board meeting tonight scheduled at 7:30. The only one that I heard from was trustee Abraham. She's working tonight. The others have not responded to the text, but we did get correspondence from one trustee as it relates to legislation, so just be patient with us, okay? Yeah, just okay. Open the dollar amount. Okay. Maybe they all on vacation and didn't tell nobody. Huh? Kevin. Okay. It's K.
How are you?
You can sit down. He yells at you. They all yell at me.
Hey, trustee, how you doing? Hey, trustee. Mr. Clerk, you ready?
Marina, can we get the bills?
Hey, Mayor. Can I have a second before we get started?
From me?
Yes, please.
Yep. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call our regular board meeting to order at 7:37 p.m. at Schroeder Park upstairs. Can I get a roll call?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely. Present. Trustee Tierney.
Here.
Trustee Jones is absent. Mayor Thompson.
Here.
Trustee Horn.
Here.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Brown-Marino is absent. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you.
Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Can we all please pause for a moment of silence? Okay, thank you. Just a couple of housekeeping items. We are being live streamed. Just wanted to ask everyone, if you have electronic devices, can you please turn them silent at this time? And at this time, Madam President, item 2, public comments. The Village of Broadview encourages citizen input. Those wishing to address the village board under public comments must fill out the attached speaker request form and submit it to the village clerk prior to the start of the board meeting. The president will then call your name at the appropriate time. When addressing the village board, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. When the president recognizes you, please state your name and address for the record, and please speak loudly. Your cooperation is greatly appreciated. Thank you. Mayor Thompson?
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Fields, can you come to the mic, please?
Good afternoon to the board and all the residents.
Good afternoon.
I just wanted to touch on the thing with this new water meters that we have this contract. Did the board approve this contract, or how did we get into it? I want to know because I am a little bit worried about the fact that I read in the paper where they was installing these meters in Chicago, and they found out now they got more lead in the water than they did before they had the meters replaced. Can you hear me?
To the mic, so.
And I was just wondering, what do we have in place to make sure that it doesn't happen here after they put the new meters in? And my second question is, we need a new leaf pickup system, because I noticed in Forest Park they got this, they put it on the front of the truck where we have the plier that we move the snow. They put this on the front of that same truck, and they push all these leaves in a big pile, and they have something to pick them up, scoop them up, and take them away. I think that's the system we need here, because a lot of people here just not rake the leaves in the first place. I think that's concludes my comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fields. Ms. Redmond?
Good evening, Mayor, trustees,
Good evening.
department chairman, and residents. I have three questions. Would like to know, I'm hoping to hear an update, what's happening with the property on North 17th Avenue there that's been there, been working on for about a year, and we've given TIF dollars. So I'd like an update on that. And then under item 8K, I know you finalized the budget for the 911. I'd like to know more about it, so can we speak in specifics, giving us a summary, because one of my concerns I did address at the finance meeting, and that was to find out what Maywood's role was going to be in terms of reimbursement. So if that's in there, I'd like to at least get some clarity on it. And then the last thing, I'm asking as a resident and also as someone, and I know you all are all benevolent people, it's Thanksgiving, and it's a good time to think about people who don't have it. Our food pantry, the Broadview Food Pantry, gave out our turkeys on Saturday. And I got a call from a resident who is also a veteran that was coming to the pantry but couldn't make it, and couldn't make it that day. He wanted my help, and I'm giving him my help. I was told that we were going to have some certificates to be able to give, and I'm hoping that we have a certificate to give to this gentleman if we still have them from Aldi. And the reason I'm asking is because this gentleman doesn't have anything. Now, I'm unloading the food truck tomorrow, and I'm going to take food over to his home, and I'm also going to go to the store and buy some things. But I want to tell you, more than just the food pantry giving food, it's establishing a relationship with people. Sometimes folks need to know that they matter. And this gentleman is by himself, and he wasn't one that I could get a hold of to participate in that Veterans Day. Otherwise, I would have done that. What I'm saying is, what I'm asking, I'm wondering if there's anybody in public safety could go to his house, bring him a certificate, tell him he matters. I'm going there tomorrow to bring him some food. He doesn't have a working phone, but we can work it out. It doesn't matter, and it's not a publicity thing. I want you to know. It's just something that I feel that we could do as a village. So I'm asking, okay?
Ms. Redmond, I typically don't respond to public comments, but I do want to elaborate on what you just shared with us. You know, we do Operation Center every year. So if this is a recommendation for him to partake in that activity, please let Chief Kenny know or Commander Casca know so that we can get his contact information to invite him to that celebration. And then in my president coming, I'm going to address the food pantry situation, what happened between Broadview and Westchester, because Westchester did get their certificates.
Okay, but well, I'm going to just say this too. Listen, I'm not about Westchester or Broadview. All I'm asking is
No, but I'm
about
just,
giving.
but I want to, but
Okay.
but it needs to be talked about.
Okay, I appreciate
Okay.
that. Okay,
All right,
thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Morgan?
My name is Barbara Morgan, and my address is 2512 South 18th Avenue. And I would just like to publicly commend our trustees, Sherman Jones and John Ely, for their contribution to our food pantry recently. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. And Ms. Gray.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Patricia Gray. I stay at 2440 South 16th Avenue in Broadview. I was invited to Westchester Food Pantry that I didn't never know anything about. I went there, I got so much stuff that I had no idea they were giving out. The following week, they invited us for turkeys. We went Saturday, and the lady gave all of us gift cards. It was a card, and they told us to go to the fire department today, and we got a $20 gift card to Aldi's, which I had no idea we was gonna receive. But it was so many people that didn't know about it because I came there and I picked up the literature off the desk in the front, and it did say about a pantry. But if nobody hadn't invited me, I wouldn't have known. But sometimes it pays for us to pick up the literature that they lay out at the counter, and a lot of times up there at Public Works, you'll find out it's a lot of stuff that we don't even acknowledge. So I'm just saying I thank you all, and for the ones that I can help do anything for, I can give you my name, and I'm always in the street, and I'm freely and willing to give and help anybody. So if it's something that I can do to help this young man, if they don't want it to be known, I'll give my donation tonight. So that's what it's all about. We got to reach out and help each other. For the ones that don't know, if you had been there or somebody shared it with you, it's just like the lady that invited me to the pantry up there. She said that Trina had invited them to a big party and gave out gift certificates because she lost her mother and father and her brother back to back. Her name is Miss Marble. So I just want to say if it's anything that anybody needs, I'm always in the street. Everybody know me. I drive a big Suburban. I have a lot of stuff, but my hobby is giving to help other people. Okay?
Thank you, Ms. Gray.
So if anything I can do to help, I can open up.
Mr. Clerk?
Okay, that completes our public comments. Item 3, communications. I do have one request for fundraising from Misericordia, and they have all of their paperwork in order. Usually these requests go to the safety committee, in which this one has, and the recommendation from the safety committee is as follows, from Chief Ugling. The safety committee is recommending the approval of Misericordia's annual fundraising event scheduled for Friday, April 26th, and Saturday, April 27th, 2019. This will be held at the intersection of 17th and Roosevelt, as well as 17th and Cermak Roads. The Safety Committee strongly encourages Misericordia to follow the conditions of solicitations as stated in the Broadview Village Ordinance Code, 3-6C-5, Conditions of Solicitations. And I have this on record, Madam President.
Thank you.
Okay, that completes the communications for this evening. Item 4, consideration to approve the following minutes. Minutes from the November 5th, 2018 regular board meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Horn, seconded by Trustee Tierney. And can the record please reflect that Trustee Jones arrived at 7:47 p.m.? Madam President, this is open for discussion.
Trustee Tierney, would you like to read the warrant list?
Yes,
Minutes, we're in the minutes.
oh, the minutes, we're on the minutes yet. Yeah. We're in, we're most,
I did a motion to approve.
Oh, okay.
approving it,
Trustee Ely? No comment. Trustee Tierney?
no comment.
Trustee Jones?
No comment.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Okay, roll call. Trustee Ely. Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yeah.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham and Brown Marino is absent. Madam President, this carries 4-0.
Okay, thank you.
Next item on the agenda, item 5. Consideration to approve expenditures, grand total of all funds, $1,848,592.17.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Tierney, seconded by Trustee Horn. Madam President?
Trustee Tierney, would you please read the warrant list on behalf of Trustee Abraham?
Yes, I will. The first one is Alfred Ronan Limited, $4,000. Next one is B&F Construction Code Services, $3,820.17. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, $153,761.70. Business card, $4,797.73. Commonwealth Edison, $2,643.54. Delgado Group LLC, $19,983.75. FGM Architects, $22,950. Geno's Heating and Plumbing, $32,605. Illinois Communities Risk Management Trust, $349,806. Law Offices of Philip M. Fornaro, $26,555.90. Montana and Walsh, $5,836.25. Orlando Lawn Service, $3,665. Pervez Hay, $2,500. Pitney Bowes Purchase Power, $2,560.98. Riley Construction, $1,177,715.10. Tier Point LLC, $3,850. Timothy Hook Hicks CPA, $9,750. It gives us a grand total of $1,826,801.12. Total expenditures under, including the under 2,500, is $1,848,592. $1,848,592.17. That's 99% of the total. There are some bills that we are asking to be pulled. I think
Yeah, I need my list.
Trustee Horn was talking about those.
Thank you.
All right, so we're asking that the expenditure for Costco wholesale in the amount of $120 be pulled. Municipal Clerks of Illinois in the amount of $70 be pulled. Business card expense, description car wash pulled. Was, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. I do have it. Pumping service pulled in the amount of $1,117.09. Seminar in the amount of $50. Travel expense in the amount of $1,093.78. And that's it. That totals to $2,400.
And 87 cents.
$2,400.87. So the new totals is, the new total is $1,846,191.30.
Trust,
I had the one that's in front of me, John. You ain't get one?
No.
This one, or the full one? Oh.
this the one you talking about?
Yeah, there's only one copy of that?
It was sent to you in your email. Yeah, it was. But that's the ones. With all the attachments. Trustee Ely?
No comment.
Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee Jones?
I got a question for the clerk. Who made the motion?
That motion was made by Trustee Tierney.
Okay, then, the first thing is, Trustee Tierney, I think you need to amend your motion to address all these, ones that you're pulling, because the original motion just said to pay the warrant list as it was. And then after you did that, it was second, then you turned around and said you wanted to take out all these other ones. So As a matter of cleaning up the record, I would just think that we should get the correct motion on the board.
As soon as everyone is done with the comments, the trustee can go back and amend his motion.
Well, I've got the same comments I've had all along. You know, I'm still opposed to a few of these things, but it would just be redundant for me to continue saying the same thing over and over. That's it for me.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing, thank you.
Trustee Brown Marino?
I have no comments.
Excuse me, Madam President, let the record reflect that at 7:51, Trustee Brown Marino did arrive to the meeting. Thank you.
Trustee Tierney, you want to amend your motion to reject the ones that's being pulled?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept the warrant report with the withdrawals or the taking out of the bills that we pulled.
So your motion is to have the effect of amending the motion to reduce the amount as stated by trustee Horn.
Correct.
Got it. Sorry, Madam Chair, if that's okay. That would require a second.
Second.
Okay, it has been properly motioned to amend the original motion to pay the bills with the exception of the exclusions. New total, $1,846,191.30. Properly motioned by Trustee Tierney and seconded by Trustee Horn.
You can get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can. Trustee Ely.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
No.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes.
And Madam President, those carry 4-0. 4-1.
That concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you.
We need the substance, right, substance. Okay, so that was the vote to approve the amendment, or for the amendment. Now we're going to approve the actual new amount. So one more time, roll call. Trustee Ely.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
No.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes.
Now the motion carries 4-1. All right. Next item, item 6, village officers report, given at every second meeting of the month. Starting off with the building department, Commissioner Dave Upshaw.
Good evening, Board, Mayor Thompson, residents. Building report for October 2018 is as follows. For the month of October, we had over $52,000 in revenue. 92% of that came from permit and inspection fees. We also had 22 complaints as it relates to high grass, contractor registration, dangerous buildings, noise, and garbage. During the course of the month of October, I met with Venecom. Venecom has been doing fiber optic work in the village of Broadview. They broke a water main as well as cut a cable that we've had. I met with them along with the Public Works Director. The water main has been fixed, the fiber optic cable has been repaired as well, and the village as well as the Broadview Westchester Water Agency, we have been made whole. I have some checks that I'll be turning over to our finance director due to water loss and time. The West Cook Regional Enterprise Committee, as a committee member, we've been holding meetings to submit our initial application to the state of Illinois, which is due December 31st. As it relates to the enterprise zone, at this point, we only have one more ordinance that we need to pass, and that is the diversity ordinance, which is before you this evening. Just as a matter of fact, the new application was about a month old when they added this. This will allow us to receive additional points and to complete our application for submission at the end of this year. As it relates to village-owned properties, 2301 through 2305 Roosevelt Road, we still have a contract on that with Precious Heart Daycare. We're working through some issues, and hopefully I anticipate that's going to close at the end of December. If not, we will be moving on. 2126 South 17th, that was under contract. We have had no response from those initially who we had given the contract to, so we are moving on, and it is before you this evening for your consideration that 2126 South 17th, that you all would consider selling, the village of Broadview would consider selling that property to Habitat for Humanity. 2412 South 9th Avenue, I'm glad to say that the village will soon own that property. I've been to court on it, and the judge has foreclosed on that property, and we should be receiving that shortly as soon as it goes through the court process and they sign all the papers. 1426, we are currently in court on that property as well, foreclosure in lieu of deed. So we should be moving forward with that too, hopefully by the end of this year. Currently, there are several projects going on in the village of Broadview. I'll just hit some of the new ones that are on here. The Red Door, 1519 through 1521 Roosevelt Road, they're about to start construction. Mayor Horn, Starbucks is up and running.
It is.
Buddy Bear Car Wash, they're almost at completion. And I did have a chance.
They were installing the equipment.
I did have a chance, Trustee Jones, to speak to Phil.
Yeah.
And he should be getting me some information as it relates to employment that I
Yeah,
can
well,
hand out to the resident.
Yeah, we, well, go ahead, Dave. I'll speak to that in a minute.
Okay. 1425 through 1429, that property was just purchased within the last 60 days, and they're undergoing a major renovation. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's 4 storefronts. They've knocked out they've gutted out the interior, and they've put up new vinyl windows, and now they're working on the roof. So I anticipate that project to be completed in the fall. Village of Broadview project, everybody can see they're moving forward with that. We still have the library project. And the strip mall on 17th Avenue, they are moving forward. They're doing well. They're a little bit behind schedule due to the contractors, but they're back on track now, and I know that item is before you as well, asking for an extension. Mayor, board, resident, that concludes my report.
Trustee Ely?
No question.
Trustee Tierney?
No question.
Trustee Jones?
So when you talked to Buddy Bear, the owner of Buddy Bear, what did he say about the employment issue?
He said that he said that he would be hiring, and he's going to get me some information, actually,
Yeah.
that I can hand out to the residents.
Yeah, I talked to him a couple days ago, just so that everybody in the room knows. The website that they have is up and running, and he's only had 3 applicants from Broadview on the website. So if anybody knows anybody's looking for work, especially high school kids or people that are retired or semi-retired that are looking for part-time work or whatever, the guy's looking for Broadview people. One of the people that applied from Broadview actually was kind of disabled, and it wasn't the kind of job that they could do. But it's physical labor, it's outdoor work in the summer and winter time, and he's looking for applicants, and nobody's applied except for these 3 individuals.
Do we have, like a description of the type of work that he have, or is that all on the website?
It might be on the website. I haven't looked, but Dave, that would probably be a question to ask him. If he's got an accurate description of the work that they want done.
Once I get the information from Phil, then I'll be able to verify what's on there.
Yeah, because I know that his timeline is by the end of the year.
Right.
Okay.
What's his timeline with your department, Dave?
End of the year. I mean,
Yeah.
the inspections, he's actually, as it relates to the building department inspections, he's actually ahead of schedule.
Yeah, I stopped by there today. I saw they were actually installing the actual the car wash apparatus, the stuff that actually puts out the chemicals and stuff. So they are actively trying to get it done before the weather changes bad. That's all I got.
All right, Trustee Horn?
No questions.
Trustee Brown?
Yeah, when it comes to the 2301 to 2305 property, can you give us any idea what the holdup is? Are they having trouble getting financing, or?
It's a finance issue.
It is financing.
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned 1426. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Is that the old Togo car dealership?
I mentioned 1425 through 1429 Roosevelt Road.
Right.
You have National Beverage on the corner.
Right.
Going west, you have the CTA Credit Union. Then you have those vacant. There's 2 vacant units, and then on the end of on 15th, you have the laundromat.
Right.
You have 2 units. One's a beauty salon. One used to be a restaurant. One's a Bill's shoe shop. And then one used to be a church. Those 4 units have been purchased and currently being renovated.
Okay.
Actually,
Right, I've heard about that, but I thought you also mentioned something about, all you said was 1426. I assume that's Roosevelt Road, but I'm not sure what
I'm
that
sorry,
is.
1426 Roosevelt Road. The mayor has tasked me with making a list of all the vacant properties. The majority of the vacant properties that we have in Broadview are not residential, they are commercial. We have quite a few in our Roosevelt Road corridor. So I am currently working with Mayor Thompson, Cook County Land Bank, as well as Montana and Welch, and we have been to court to foreclose on those properties. A lot of those properties will not be purchased by anybody due to the tax debt that is on them. So therefore, the Village of Broadview is trying to secure those properties and then move forward with either selling them, demolition, or developing those properties itself.
And which one is 1426? Is
It's
that the old car dealership?
Yeah, right across from MB Financial.
Okay.
It used to be a restaurant.
And then finally, you also mentioned Red Door. What is Red Door?
The Red Door is a meeting place which is located will be located next to Pete's Restaurant.
Next to the Betty.
Old Betty
bookstore.
Jew.
Old Betty
Bookstore.
Joe, Betty Joe's bookstore, used to be a pet shop and a veterinarian.
Okay, thank you.
That's it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Upshaw.
Okay, next item, Finance Department, Finance Director Tim Hicks.
Good evening, trustees and residents.
Good evening.
Before you guys, I have two packets. One is for year-to-date through October 31st. I'll go through that one. For the sake of time, the other packet is just an update for fiscal 18, what we have so far, unaudited information. So it's holding true to form of what we've indicated in the past, so I won't go into detail on it. So for the month of October 2018, we had revenues of $769,230. We had expenses of $979,337 for a net deficit for the month of for $210,107. Year-to-date for October 31st, 2018, we have revenues of $6.8 million, or roughly $6.8 million, expenditures of roughly $6.7 million for a net surplus of $86,000, 87 roughly. When you look at where we would be on a straight line basis, we would expect it that revenues would have came in about $7.8 million. We're about $1 million behind. The key driver there is that the tax disbursement just hasn't taken place yet. And so once that takes place, then we anticipate catching up on revenues. Everything else is pretty flat compared to where we would anticipate a 6-month budget on a straight line basis to be. So when we look at expenses, we are probably $752,000 favorable to budget. And the key drivers there is the fire and police pension. We just haven't collected the taxes to pay out for the pension. So once we collect the taxes, then we will pay those out, and so we won't see that favorability there. So those are the key drivers there. At this point, I'll take any questions.
Trustee Ely? No. Trustee Channing?
No question.
Trustee Jones?
I have no question.
Trustee Moore?
At our finance committee meeting, we talked about the treasurer's report. Is there a status update on that?
Yeah, we were anticipating trying to get the audit done, so that we typically use audited numbers for the treasury report, but we are still behind with getting the audit done because we have 2 audits going on right now. We have the OPEB audit, which is the pension benefits, and then we have our regular audit. So with those 2 going simultaneously, we don't. There's no requirement that the information that's published in the Treasury report be audited numbers, and so typically that's what we've done in the past, but we're going to get that done as soon as possible.
Okay. And then as it relates to the other funds, providing a summary statement of revs and expenditures, we can expect that when?
We can expect that in the next Finance Committee meeting.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's it?
That's it, thanks.
Trustee Barmaria?
She got my question, so I'm good.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, Fire Department, Chief Tracy Kinney.
Good evening, everybody. This is my report for October. Emergency responses, we responded to 246 emergency calls, included 2 box alarm fires and a dry air fire. At Loyola, we responded 27 times, Hines 32, and Madden 1. I'm going to just skip over to billing information. We billed $22,800 to Loyola, $19,800 for Hines VA, $950 for Catholic Charities, $750 for Madden Mental Health, for a total of $44,300 for the month of October. It says March on here. I'll fix that when we send it to you. Just want to touch on a couple of things. I know you have a big agenda. One of the things that we pride ourselves in this village on is that police and fire work really well together, and we do a lot of events together. Often, every Christmas, you'll find the Explorers, the fire department, working with Operation North Pole, not to be mistaken with Operation Santa that we do here in the village. Operation North Pole provides Christmas for families with children with cancer. We help wrap gifts, load trucks. We have prep for the event. This year, they had to choose several villages to be rewarded with coats for the children in all the schools. We were lucky enough to be part of that. They recognized the village of Broadview. Every child at Roosevelt and Lindop received a winter coat. And the police and fire was involved with that. In the village, we distributed and were part of that day. And it was pretty amazing that they chose it. Rice Foundation is the foundation that gives the money to Operation North Pole, and then they do the coat drive. So brand new spanking coats. So it was great. The other thing I would like to talk about is this week and this week only, so I would love you to push your neighbors and anybody listening to get them in. We are looking for men's coats. They can be used and or new. We're doing a men's coat drive for, it's a charity in the city for a beds program to provide men with coats during the winter months who are homeless. So during this week at the fire department, you can drop them off. We're going to package them up and they're going to be picked up on the 26th. So please spread the word on that. And that is my report.
Thank you. Trustee Ewan? Trustee Terry?
Yeah, I do. Tracy, you didn't mention, Chief Kenny is going to be sworn in next month as the new president of the Metropolitan Fire Chiefs Association. Wow.
Thank you.
What a long way you came.
Yeah, right?
I remember you just a fireman. Wow. That's fantastic, Tracy. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. Nothing.
It is.
Trustee Margarito?
Just congratulations.
Thank you.
I have one thing, Chief. Inspector Monks does an awesome job in presenting safety information to the residents. You mentioned the dryer fire. That's one of the things he talks about. Can you just expound on the dryer fire a little bit and what could have been done to prevent it possibly?
Yes. So, in fact, this is kind of helps you with that. Inspector Monks in the month of January will be having an event at the firehouse where he brings residents in and residents and apartment complex owners and to talk about fire safety, and that's one of the things he touches on. But if I could just push in the winter especially, cleaning out your lint. And not just that, when people tend to clean it out and just leave it next to the dryer, that's worse because it can slip underneath the dryer and start a fire. And it's not just pulling the piece out where you can clean it out, it's actually there's a little piece of equipment that you can get online, and if you have questions about it, you can call me, but it actually digs into the dryer a little more and removes some more lint, and especially the tube that goes outside of the house, that can get clogged as well. So maintaining that, and then some people just put the dryer on for the longest time ever, and continuing to heat it up is pretty bad as well. So actually doing your half hour and checking is the better way to do it. So
Thank you, Chief.
that's it. Yep.
Okay, next on the agenda is the Police Department. Chief Kevin Ugly.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The month of October, the police department responded to 1,390 calls, processed 6 separate individuals for a sex offense, assisted business and fingerprint employees. They had a federal contract, so all their employees had to get fingerprinted. 40 cases were assigned to the Detective Bureau, with a total of 319 for the year so far. Some events we participated in was the Columbus Day Parade in Chicago, Camargue Walk to School event, and we took part in our annual fundraiser at McDonald's, the McHeroes Night with the fire department, and we raised just under $1,500 for our charities. Training we did was International Chiefs of Police training, Illinois Vehicle Code refresher, 911 training, use of force training. We also did, our detectives did a check for the Halloween, our annual with the sex offenders. certain guidelines they have to follow, so we made sure to make contact with the sex offenders for Halloween. And you'll see it on the agenda. Officer Bulova submitted his retirement letter effective December 2nd. And that's my report.
Thank you, Chief. Trustee Eaton?
No question.
Trustee Tierney?
No question.
Trustee Jones?
Yeah, you talked about the number of cases assigned to your detective department, but you didn't talk about how many have been solved. So what's the solvability rate at this point? And
79%.
Almost 80%.
Yep.
Thanks. That's it.
I was making it quick.
I just want to give you guys a compliment. I was pulled to the side and somebody told me that the Broadview police are present everywhere. You see a car everywhere you go. And an elderly lady approached me and said that you guys are doing a good job about keeping those that were under the influence from hanging around the liquor stores, and she appreciated that.
Appreciate that.
So thank you.
Trustee Brown?
No, I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Next item is Public Works Department, Director Matt Ames. Is Matt in the building? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Mr. Ames.
Good evening. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Mayor, everyone in attendance. Usually I'm brief, but we've got a few items on the agenda for Public Works tonight that I'd like to address, Mayor, if possible, during my reporting. And those are the POs. So briefly, the report that was turned into the mayor's office and the clerk's office for the month of October. Consists of 39 complaints spread out between street, forestry, signs, garbage, and water mains. We're still operating below staffing levels, normal staffing levels. I know Human Resources and myself conducted interviews for seasonal and part-time employees. Some have been already background, or should I say fingerprinted and drug tested. So the direction for the department will come from Human Resources as to when they will start. So hopefully soon, as we would like to get them trained. This is the last week for leaf collection, so a robocall public service announcement went out. What we have seen was at least the leaf collection is working as planned. Thank you for the purchase of the sweeper, the contract with Grouped, and most certainly education with the community, our residents, has made the leaf collection actually, like I said, quite planned. So we're ready for the snow and ice. So we have our spreaders already affixed. We've got our plow situated, and we've got about 700 tons of salt to begin the season with. And of course, we're part of the state purchasing program, so we'll order up the salt as we've been budgeted, I believe for $50,000 this year, but whatever that line item is, and we'll budget the salt, should I say order it up as needed to the salt dome. So you have before you no less than, I believe, 6 POs, is it?
7.
7?
Total.
A total of 7?
Yeah, but you have less time.
Okay. I've got vehicle justification forms. Mayor, did everyone receive a PDF of that or no? Yes. Yeah, okay. So does anybody need a hard copy? No? Okay. Obviously, the front end loader, 1990 model, 155,000 miles on it. We're asking to replace that with a PO before you, Cat 926, a small wheel loader. Some of the follow-up questions that the mayor wanted in terms of trade-in values. We're looking to get about $23,000 from the trade-in of the 1990 Cat front-end loader. And we're expecting to have a life expectancy of about 15 years with the newly replaced front-end loader, and it's something that fire department will be able to use now that it is OSHA compliant and some of their training. So. We also have international 2 snow plow trucks. So last year, obviously, we had issues with some of the equipment failing and probably at some of the most inopportune times. Our full-time mechanic had contracted pneumonia when we suffered the failure of a few of these equipment, and we had to outsource them to a company over in Maywood to get them up and running. But that being said, we've expended more funds and manpowers to try and keep the things up and running. But these units are 2,000 years old. One is a 2,000.
2,000 years old.
You mean in 2000, the year 2000?
2000.
Yeah, no, year 2000.
Okay,
Yeah.
18 years old.
No.
18 years old.
No, a year 2000.
Yeah,
Well,
but
you said they're 2,000 years old.
Forgive me. Okay.
They did the
Right.
You mean 18 years old.
So this is
He said no to me. So I said 18 years
right.
old.
Okay. So, but it is a model year 2000, and yeah, we've got more than 40,000 miles, and it's not really the miles. Broadview is 2.2 square miles, but when you're talking about hours use, but yeah, that's the justification for that as well. And 2 450 plow trucks are being requested. These trucks will not be delivered until 6 months from the time we put the order in. So, while I was hoping to have them delivered for operations this snow season, apparently we didn't get all of the information to the mayor and the board in a timely fashion. But 6 months is the lead time for the construction of these trucks and delivery to us. So we're going to have to keep our fingers crossed this winter with the trucks that we do have in place. Skid steer. Skid steer, for those of you that may not be familiar with the term skid steer, it's popular with the manufactured Bobcat. Some of you all have seen these small excavators, but we rent this unit on a regular basis. The justification is we used to have 2 410 John Deeres that the department used years ago. Actually, the model years are 1994 for one and 1998 for the other one. But we used to use those units to do flat work, sidewalk replacement work, water main excavation and repairs, and because of the nature of what we do now in public works, the work that is contracted out, and the need for a smaller piece of equipment. Of course, we utilize this when we're planting our trees, when we're once again doing concrete work, asphalt work. So the justification for this is endless. And we've already purchased and replaced the 2003 Elgin Street Sweeper. And currently, we have that listed for auction. And one other item, I believe, that was Christmas lights decorations. Typically in the past, we've, Miss Donna Barber, when she was the collector here, was nice enough to find a vendor that serviced Roosevelt Road with holiday decorations. The company came out of Indiana. That was problematic for a few reasons. We were locked into, I believe, a 3-year contract, but if the light displays, for whatever reason, malfunction, we'd have to wait for them to have enough scheduled work in the area to come in and take care of it. So sometimes we'd have decorations hanging on poles for weeks that was not illuminating. That's right. So we're looking to purchase these ornaments from a local company, Holiday
Artistic
Decoration.
Holiday Design.
Absolutely. They're right over here on Parks Avenue, 16th Street. So it's a local company. So we've got, obviously, the maintenance support right here in town. And now that we have our own bucket truck, we can install our own decorations, fixtures, whatever else the community would like to see. So, does that cover the POs that I have before the board?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mayor, at this time, I would entertain questions or comments.
Trustee Ely?
No question.
Trustee Tierney?
Yeah, you did say you got some traded value on one of the vehicles.
The Caterpillar.
That's going off the cost of the vehicle.
That's correct.
That's all.
So I have nothing.
Trustee Horn?
When it comes to the decorations, when can we expect to see them?
Well, again, you know, the
process.
PO is before you guys, okay? So we've learned not to order until we get corporate authority approval. So
Okay.
if in fact you guys approve it, there is, I believe, 7 to 10 day delivery because they actually come from France.
Okay.
They're manufactured overseas and they'll be air freighted here and blah, 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 blah. So
Yeah, I just want the village to be pretty, that's all. But, no, a real question though, related to the compromised trucks, what type of mitigation are we putting in place? You know, when we have to say keeping our fingers crossed, what do we do?
well, we have took steps to hire a part-time mechanic local.
Okay,
So that takes a load, a burden off of the 80-year-old mechanic that we have, and most certainly the stress is on the department. Yeah, well, he's about 80. So
At
I
least.
mean, and I wish
really?
I wish I could have him for another 80 years. I'm telling you, he's phenomenal. But yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, that's all.
Trustee Brown?
I have nothing.
Can I add one thing? I'm sorry, Madam
No,
President.
go ahead.
She asked about contingencies. Do we still use temporary seasonal contractors for the snow plow?
Well, we've got those guys lined up.
Yeah.
Local contractors, A1 Landscaping, Orlando, Bush, for those individuals that, you know, if in fact they're needed. So we don't know what kind of events we're going to have. All we can do is just plan for the worst. So we've got everybody pretty much mobile. So everybody's ready to be mobile, and we're anticipating significant snowfall. And we'd appreciate the residents, if nothing else, helping us help you by making sure that your cars are not blocking the sidewalks when we go to remove the snow off of the sidewalk with our trackless. And if in fact you have a place to park in your driveway or in your garage, we'd appreciate you utilizing that. As we've done in the past, we will also try and address our alleys so that the residents can get to their garages first, and then we'll address our major thoroughways and systematically the streets. And I know we've got new parking in place, so we're looking forward to seeing how that's going to play out. So
I got one other thing, and maybe the mayor might be able to answer this. How much space are you expecting these holiday designs to take up, and what's the plan for the storage of them?
top of the water tower.
You
So
gonna put them in the water tower?
yeah, that's
Oh, you clean that?
yeah. Historically, that's where it's been. As a matter of fact, we did. We spent the last 2 weeks cleaning the water tower out, and we've moved our water truck down there, our chipper truck, some things that we won't use on a regular basis in the wintertime. So if in fact we have to retrieve them, a down tree, we have access to them. But for the most part, we've got things stored up there. We've got a water meter stored up there that's slated to be installed as soon as December. So we've got letters going out and some other things. So lastly, there is one other PO.
I was
on there.
going, you stole the point.
And that was for the
meter.
electricity to the water tower for
Thank
the
you.
transmitter. So the transmitter, the radio remote transmitter was actually installed about a month ago. And part of the contract, our obligation is to run electricity power to it. So we've got a quote from a vendor that was recommended by H&H Electric. They don't provide the type of service But the good news is that we're actually going to be spending $2,000 less than what the
this is.
PO is, and
This
that's
your PO
because.
number 6 is Richmond Electric
Richmond
Company.
Electric.
Right, and that's because we got a last minute bid from Ashburn Electric, who is the company that's doing the Village Hall with Riley Construction. So they presented in their own site, I didn't understand comparing apples to apples, but they're $2,000 less. So we're going to authorize them to do the work if in fact the PO is approved tonight, so. Oh, well, yeah, they know, that's an educational piece, that's in the newsletter, so.
Thank you.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you. All right. Okay, next is, okay, so that concludes our reports. We don't have anything from the administrative department at this time. Next item is item 7, old business. Item A, an ordinance amending Title 7, Chapter 2 of the Village Code regarding vehicle license fees in the Village of Broadview, County of Cook.
Mr. Clark, you forgot the village administrator.
I was told that there was no report. Did you have a report?
But she need to
You
tell
got a
us that.
report, Tisa?
I apologize. Next item on the agenda.
Let us stand up and say, okay?
Next item on the agenda, Administrative Department, Village Administrator, Leticia Jones. Sorry.
Madam Mayor, Board of Trustees, I have no report this time.
Okay, thank you. And Trustee
I have no questions.
I apologize, madam.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Trustee Val Marino?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Okay, here we go. Item 7, old business, an ordinance amending Title 7, Chapter 2 of the Village Code regarding vehicle license fees in the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois. This was tabled from the last meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Horn, seconded by Trustee Ely. Madam President?
Trustee Ely?
Well, I've made some suggestions, and I see that the village attorney incorporated my suggested changes, and it appears that he may have satisfied the remainder of the board's suggested changes also. That's all. It looks complete to me.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Tierney?
No questions, just a comment, great idea.
Trustee Jones? Thank you.
Well, the idea's been in place for a while, we just haven't been able to get it done, but I guess maybe Ms. Jones is probably the person I need to ask this question to. How is our infrastructure going to be able to track this stuff and maintain it? How is our current license sticker process going to be able to track and maintain this type of thing for the seniors or the veterans?
We have already revised.
Can you come to the mic?
We have already revised our sticker placements for where we added our seniors as far as 2 per household. We also put our veterans amount that's on there where it's no charge. Also, we've updated LOSIS, so where it's tracking it is as of live, because we updated with our current server, so everything is going to be current as of 2019.
I guess so. When the clerks go to put this in, if somebody's already purchased or already received their sticker, it's going to be flagged. It's going to all of a sudden come.
Yes, sir. We're working with Third Millennium, who's
That's Third Millennium, right?
Mhm.
It's not LOSIS. I'm just worried about Third Millennium.
Right. Well, what happened is that LOSIS, Third Millennium, had to combine and kind of update because we were behind. We were behind for the past 3.5 years. So now they've updated. We updated with the server, and then both of them have been talking so that we're updating our processes and procedures so that when a clerk comes in and say they flag it, say if you came and you wanted 3 senior, it would flag it that, okay, you already got 2.
You know, but that's neither here nor there.
Yes, sir.
No, go ahead. So if I ask for 3, what happens?
No, if you came in and your name pops up, it's only going to say that you already purchased 2. So where you can't purchase a 3rd one or going forward.
Okay. All right, because that was a huge issue before. Cause
Yes.
The two components were not talking to each other.
Mhm.
They had a major issue, Third Millennium and LOSIS, and we could not get it to work, and it just caused a major issue.
Yes, and our awesome clerks, they brought it to my attention.
No, well,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, well, that's fair enough.
Mhm.
That's all.
So as we, prior to this administration, we was behind technology-wise.
Mhm.
So systems wasn't talking, servers were way outdated, so if we put too much on the old server, it was about to crash. So now that we have an enhanced server and we're able to have conversations with the different vendors that we use to upload in LOSIS. LOSIS, just so that you all are aware, is a database that we use that's been with the village for probably before you were here.
Long time,
But
long
a long time. But there's different modules within LOSIS that was not tapped into and not utilized. So now we're starting to utilize the module so that we can be very transparent in our transaction as we move forward with the finances. And the finances is a big component of our day-to-day operations. So we had a lot of paper movement and everything should have been in the database. So when we talk about village stickers as it relates to the veterans or the seniors capping off at 2 per household, we're able to track that now, where in the past we wasn't able to track that. So now in LOSIS, what should come in when you get your village sticker, maybe your sticker is $5.39. When you come register, they'll put in that sticker $5.39 so that we know that's already been expensed. So now we're able to track our purchase, the sale of our tickets, the sale of our stickers appropriately. And not guessing on how many we sell a year, but now we actually tracking things and seeing the trends on where it relates and how it falls within our budget. So thank you, Ms. Jones. Trustee Horn?
Nothing, thanks.
Trustee Barbarino?
Yeah, I'll start with the question that would affect you. What kind of documentation are people going to need to show that they are a vet or that their spouse was a veteran?
Well, or where they come in, they have their IDs of where they telling us that they're veterans. Because we had the past year of where it was a big concern, and the clerks had brought it to myself, and then I brought it to the mayor, of when they come in and saying, okay, you know what, I'm a veteran. You know, what can you do for the veteran? So they have no problem in bringing in IDs of showing proof that, you know, they were a veteran, retired veteran. So that's where, you know, it's been proper protocol where they bring that in. And we haven't had any issues.
Okay. Well, that was the only question that would involve you, Ms. Jones. But my other comment, and I had shared this with the attorney and the board, and there was quite a bit of what I'd shared that has been incorporated into this, and I appreciate that. I still have a couple of concerns. First of all, if the idea is that we want to honor our military personnel for their service, I would think that this is a perk that we should offer to the active military and not just to veterans. People and families that are currently serving in the military, but that's not what I see in here.
It says in addition to.
No.
No, it's defined.
No, it says passenger automobiles owned by a military veteran or the widow or widower of a military veteran, and then goes on to talk about the price and terms. And then a military veteran is defined as a person who served in the active military and who was discharged or released, et cetera, but it doesn't say anything about people that are currently serving. So that's one comment that I would prefer to see that we offer it, because frankly, to me, it seems like if you have someone who joined the military, they served a couple of years, they got out, they would be entitled to this perk for the rest of their life, whereas someone who continues to serve and spend 20, 25 years in the military, multiple combat tours and what have you, they have to wait until they finally retire to get a perk like this. So that was one of my comments. The other is, I would like to see that we include members of the National Guard who are deployed, especially deployed into combat situations, but who are deployed. I'd sent some information from the VA about how they view people from the National Guard and Merchant Marines, if that comes up. But we do, we have National Guard members who are serving now. So,
Madam Chair,
Are you finished, Trustee Barbarino?
I think so, yeah.
You want to address that and then address
Yes,
it?
yes, please.
In reverse, I'm sorry, Madam
Ms.
Chair,
Jones,
do
you
you
can
want
have a seat.
Madam Chair, do you want me to address that?
Yes.
In reverse order, our research showed that a National Guard is considered a reservist component of the armed services.
Yes.
So when we refer to that as a reservist, that would capture the National Guard. If it pleases the board, we can add a recital, but I don't know if we necessarily need to do that, provided that the understanding, and this is now part of the minutes, is that the reservist is part of the National Guard as what our research has shown.
That's true. That is true.
Well, I mean, if the intent is to include National Guard members who have served who have been deployed, by our military, then, that's fine. I don't think it's clear in this. And actually, each of...
The end says including the reserve components thereof.
Right, but each one of those 5 branches of the military have a reserve component.
Correct, but if the National Guard is a
So-
reservist, and it says including the reserve components thereof,
Okay.
then that would be inclusive of the National Guard. And I'll put I would ask that, Mr. Clerk, that that's reflected in the minutes as well.
So noted.
Okay.
Trustee Barnard, you have
And
one
as,
comment?
well, and then, I don't know if you want to address my other concern about allowing active military to participate in this perk as well, and not just wait until they've retired.
I think it's a good perk.
But it's assumed, isn't it?
We could,
No.
They just have to show their credentials and stuff like that, so it's no
Right.
different than a retired vet, so I'm okay with that.
then if it would, trustee, if you would make a motion to amend to allow me to add
Yeah.
the word active military, so if I would draw the board's attention, the corporate authority's attention, to page 3 of the ordinance, under Title 7, or let's say Article 2,
That's what a veteran.
amendment to Title 7, Chapter 2 of the Village Code. I draw your attention to the table on the bottom. It reads now, passenger automobiles owned by a military veteran or the widow or widower of a military veteran. I would have proposed, Madam Trustee, if this would satisfy your concern, and Madam Chair, if you'll accept this, is we define active military, the term active military is the second sentence of the definition. We just add the word or active military.
Right.
Passenger automobiles owned by a military or active military member, military veteran, or the widower or widower of a military veteran. Well, you can't be an active widower
Exactly.
for an active member,
That's-
right?
We know it's.
That goes out to.
Right.
Or military veteran.
Right, so it'd be active military.
Active war military.
Okay, that's fine, active or military veteran. And we'll, if you will
So
accept
should
that as
it-
an amendment,
That would be fine with me.
would you mind making the motion to have
Sure.
that added?
I make a motion that we amend the motion to approve for to include the change to the last paragraph on page 3 of the ordinance to read passenger automobiles owned by active military, comma, by a military veteran or the widow or widower of a military veteran.
Second.
Who made the motion? I'm sorry, who made the original motion?
Trustee Horn.
Trustee Horn.
Trustee Horn, you have no objection to that? So we can consider it a friendly amendment?
Yes.
And you did second it?
Yes, I
Okay.
did.
Then we would vote on the amendment, then we would vote on the substance of it.
Mr. Clerk?
Yes, ma'am. 1 second, please. Okay, so it was originally motioned by Trustee Horn, seconded by Trustee Ely. The amended motion is to include active, I'm sorry.
No, the motion made by Trustee Brown Moreno was to amend it to include the words active or military veteran under the table in the last one. That motion was accepted as a friendly amendment just as courtesy by Trustee Horn, but it was also seconded by Trustee Horn. So we would need a motion we would need to carry that motion through, and then we would vote on the substance of the motion. Sorry, Mr. Clerk.
What do you say? You ready for a roll call, Madam President?
Yes.
All right, this is to accept that amendment. Trustee Ely?
Aye.
Trustee Tierney?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Aye.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Brown Marino?
Yes.
Okay, you have that 5-0. Now, this is for the approval of the amended motion. Trustee Ely?
Aye.
Trustee Tierney?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Aye.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Brown Marino?
Yes.
Madam President, this carries 5-0.
Thank you.
So thank you all. Okay.
Thank you for your service.
Yes.
Now we move on to new business, item 8. A resolution mourning Rosie Lee Neely for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve?
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Horn, seconded by Trustee Jones. Madam President?
Trustee Ely?
Only that, we all suffer loss, and because we all suffer it, it doesn't make it any easier. So my condolences go out to the family.
Thank you. Trustee Tierney?
I would agree. Condolences to the family.
Thank you. Trustee Jones?
I have no comment.
Trustee Horn?
No comment.
Trustee Brown Marino?
Just that condolences to you, Mayor.
Thank you.
The loss of your grandmother.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Want to do a voice call?
Yeah, that's fine.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing no, I had 5 ayes, excluding trustee Abraham, who was absent. Item C, a motion to accept and approve the preliminary estimate of the 2018 property tax levy collected.
What about the police officer?
Did I miss one? I'm sorry. Backing up to B. Item B, a motion to authorize the hiring of a police officer to fill the vacancy left by the retirement of Michael Bolivar.
Make a motion.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Tierney, seconded by trustee Jones. Madam President.
The purpose of this motion is to authorize the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners to hire a police officer to fill the vacancy left by the retirement of Michael Boulevard. Trustee Ely?
No comment.
Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee Jones?
I have no comment.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Trustee Barberino?
I have no comment.
Roll call, please.
Yes, Madam President. Trustee Ely?
Aye.
Trustee Tierney?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Aye.
Trustee Horn?
Yes, excuse me.
Trustee Abraham is absent. And trustee Brown Marino?
Yes.
Madam President, this carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Now we're going to item C. A motion to accept and approve the preliminary estimate of the 2018 property tax levy, which is collected in 2019, in accordance with the Truth in Taxation Law of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Horn, seconded by trustee Tierney. Madam President?
Thank you. As required by state law, the board must approve the estimated tax levy at least 20 days before the levy itself is passed. Trustee Ely?
Well, I'm just wondering, don't we normally have a hearing, a levy hearing prior to this? They're one of the state rules, we must have a levy hearing.
No, the hearing requirement comes in the event that there's a different, first of all, this is the first process under the property tax code relative to.
Can barely hear you.
This is the first step in the process. This is the first process in the step of the adoption of the tax levy. So if there is a time for a hearing, it would come after determination is made. This triggers that event to make the determination for such matters as the publication notice if we go over 105%, which I believe the finance director or the budget officer, quite frankly, could tell you we are not proposing to do at this point in time. Again, I'll remind the board that this process is an estimate of the levy. It is not the actual levy itself.
But the levy for 2019 is simply a 1.43 decrease in last year's levy?
Madam Chair, can we direct it to the finance department if it's a substantive question?
So the reason for the decrease is that we will not have to secure rollover bonds in the amount that we have in the past. So we would only seek $740,000 as opposed to close to $1 million in past years. And so what the levy is a combination of the CPI versus last year's levy minus the difference between the rollover amount being less by about $250,000.
That $250,000 is a 1.43% decrease?
Yes, sir, from last year's levy.
Okay, what I understand is later on in the agenda, we're being asked to approve the rollover bond. So you're talking about at the end of 2019, we will be approving a lower rollover bond. Is that what you're saying? Or you're saying
we're approving
this
a
one?
lower, the one that we're approving will be for next fiscal year.
Okay.
It crosses over. So,
Okay.
Yeah. That's what we would be levying for, is the one that we'll be approving later on, which is the lesser amount versus prior year, the prior year's levy.
Okay, I just got one more comment / question. The most months this year, when it came time to pay the bills, we've been behind the previous year's budget. We've been anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000 over revenues collected, and now your preliminary estimate is that we should seek a decrease when we've been spending more money? Just something to think about, but we'll see.
So I explained to you, this is when you look at the levy versus prior year levy, we do not have to secure the additional amount of rollover bonds. So it's less yes, it's less, and we will budget accordingly based on the levy that we have for next fiscal year. So you're talking apples and oranges. So you guys approved, the board approved the budget for fiscal 19, which was based on the levy for 2018. So when we get to budget season for fiscal year 2020, then that will take into consideration the levy for calendar year 19. You understand?
Yes.
All right.
There may be more. I'm done.
Okay, trustee Tierney?
No questions.
Trustee Jones?
Can you just give us, for the record, what the number is? The estimated number?
Off the top of my head.
In round figures.
In round, I got it in my head. It's $6,544,410.
Was it $6,544,000?
544, 541.
544, 541. Okay.
That was in
That was it.
That was in the packet.
Yeah. No, I wanted it read into the record so everybody out there knew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's it?
Mhm.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Trustee Brown Marina?
Yeah, I'm confused about this business about reducing the levy based on reducing the rollover bond. First of all, the rollover bonds were attached to the bonds that were sold in 2003. Those have not matured yet, but right as soon as they mature, aren't we obligated to continue with the rollover bonds as part of the revenue source for the 12 million in bonds that we just sold?
I don't understand your question because the 2003 bonds have nothing to do with the year-over-year rollover bonds. So every year we issue bonds that we pay off year over year. So one thing has nothing to do with the other. So every year.
Yeah, it does, because the rollover bonds were pledged as an alternate revenue source for the repayment of the 2003 bonds that were then refinanced, but we continued to obligate ourselves with the rollover bonds. That's the reason we're doing the rollover bonds. It was an alternate revenue source for those bonds when they were first sold.
Wasn't here in 2003, so I can't answer that, but the rollover bonds are pledged against the bonds that we just issued.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Plus, because we never did get anything in writing, or we got very little in writing and nothing that really went into this kind of detail. But what we were told is that in terms of the repayment of the bonds that were just sold.
Stop right there. What did you not get in detail? Can you be specific?
How we're going to be making these payments. What I was told is that the first 2 years there would be no payments. That we're going to be using the money that we received from Maywood. Right. And the reason I'm bringing this up now is because in terms of rollover bonds, we have obligated ourselves to continue with the rollover bonds as a part of the repayment plan for the 12 million that was just sold, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And the debt service on those is 1.2 million a year.
No.
Well, that was, among the limited paperwork we got, that was what we...
Yeah, I don't think your question is appropriate for what is on the table, but we have addressed the payment for the schedules because we scheduled, we had bond hearings, we had all of that for the rollover bonds, and that was all discussed during that time frame.
Right.
And I'm only saying that in all due respect for time purposes.
Well, and the reason that I do believe it's appropriate now is because we're talking about reducing our tax levy because you're saying that we don't need to sell as much in rollover bonds as we have in the past. And I'm saying I'm not so sure that that's the case. And it may be the case right now because we may not need it this year, but I think we might be a little short-sighted. And isn't it a problem if we decide later, yes, we do have to increase,
we will address it at that time.
The increases are based on the previous year. So if we decided 2 years from now.
We would address it at that time because the rollover bonds are 1 year bonds. They're rollover, which implies that every year they'll be different.
That was what I was getting ready to get to.
What?
The fact that every year they could be different. That every time we do it, they could be different.
Right.
Based on
I
the
understand
EAV,
that, but my
there's a
problem is.
percentage of that we can go up to. Just like for this particular issuance, we could issue up to $1 million, but we do not have the need for up to $1 million. So we are being financially fiscally responsible and not issuing up to $1 million. We do not have that.
And that's fine, but my concern is, I'm not so sure that we're going to be in that position moving forward. And
We
now
will address
we're
it at that
reducing our levy.
time. This is for this particular levy. Like you're talking about something into the future. This is this particular levy, which we feel is appropriate.
So what you're saying is this is just a snapshot. So for this 12-month period of whatever time it is, all we need is this amount of money. So basically what you're saying is that we have the ability to pay without having to do the rollover bond, whatever it is that we got to pay based on this levy.
Yeah, yes, because in terms of the bonds that was just issued, right? Because we structured it that we would have capitalized interest for 2 years, that we would, so that we would be able to, in that time frame, there's an issuance. I don't know what date it was, but those issuance would be paid off during that time frame, and then the rollover bonds will be pledged toward the payment for the bonds that were just issued, keeping the debt service consistent with what it has been in the past.
So looking into your financial crystal ball, and the only reason I'm saying that is because do you think that in 2 years or 3 years that we may possibly have rollover bonds of more than the $750,000? Is that possible?
That is possible because we would have the ability to issue up to whatever
up
the
to $1 million.
EAV, yeah,
Whatever.
up to what we are legally obligated or that we're legally allowed to issue.
So, and I'm direct this to Trustee Judy Bomarino. So what is it that you were trying to get to with this particular line of questioning for him? Because all I got out of this was that for this year alone, all we need is $750,000. That's what I got out of this. For this levy.
For this levy, for this
Right.
2009.
That's what I got out of this. And then future levies, it may be a different number.
Yes.
It could be a different number.
Because you had a threshold to go up.
Right.
Okay, let me ask my question this way then. If in the future we realize we do need to levy more because our rollover bonds are much higher, and we have exceeded the 5% cap because now we've reduced our levy, so we're starting from a lower baseline. What is the process to increase a levy beyond 5%?
Yeah, take that. But before you answer, so the only thing that is reducing is the amount of debt service.
Mhm.
So that's the only portion of the levy that's being reduced. The other portion of the levy is being increased by inflation, by CPI, or it's being kept flat based on what we know at this time. So,
Yes, so Madam Chair, if I may address three related points to this. Number one, under the property tax code, the last sentence of the section that talks about PTEL addresses the fact if you reduce a levy, what happens when you can look back to a provision and find the highest levy year from the 3 preceding years. We'll provide you all with that statute. I don't have it available. I mean, I'm not going to pull it off my phone right now, but I can bring that for the next board meeting if that's okay with everyone. Number one. Number two, this is the estimate of the levy. This is not the actual levy itself. I want to take that very clear. Number three, I'd also like to remind everyone, we were all trustees and board members, well, most of us were trustees and board members last year, but last year was a unique levy year for us. If you not only remember that we did do a big public financing circumstance, but also a TIF rolled off. And that does address in how we levy. I'm sure the finance director would agree with that as well, that that's a unique circumstance when a TIF rolls off, especially commending the village of successful TIF. Number four, we are lucky enough to have the underwriters for the bonds here who are planning to address this and the interplay between this public finance transaction and the prior public finance transaction, which had the result, and I'm not stealing his proverbial thunder, which had the result of lowering the estimated par value for this issuance from the last issuance that went through. He is a far more articulate man than I am. I'll allow him to do it when that issue gets addressed. But that is something that can be addressed at that point in time. Again, and I'm being redundant, and I apologize for that, but this
You're making them turn red.
It might be the heat, though. Open that window. But again, this is the estimate, trustee. This is obviously, as you know, a requirement of state statute that we go through this process. It does not require a hearing at this point in time. The hearing will come at a later point in time. But if the board would so choose, and obviously at the direction of the chair, we'll provide you with a statutory, I don't want to say interpretation, but we'll just distribute the statute before the next board meeting.
Yep, that'd be good.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Yes to accepting and approving the preliminary estimate of tax levy.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Brown Marino.
As a preliminary, yes.
All right. And Madam President, this carries as a preliminary, 5-0.
It's documented as a preliminary. It's documented.
Next item D, presentation and a possible motion to select a bid for purchase of village-owned property located at 2126 South 17th Avenue in the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois, pursuant to 65 ILCS 5/11-74.4-4C.
Make a motion.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Tierney, seconded by Trustee Horn. Madam President.
The purpose of this motion is to present and possibly award a bid for the purchase of village-owned property located at 2126 South 17th Avenue in the Village of Broadview. Trustee Ely?
Well, it's, we only have one, as far as I can see, one name here, just Habitat for Humanity. If they're the only bidder, I'm not necessarily opposed, but want to make sure that there were no other contingencies, there any more promised aid or whatever.
Hey, Trustee, how you doing? I'm Matt Ingersoll from Montana Wells. Just to speak on this real quick, this property was actually in front of the board back in August.
Yes.
We had two bidders. We engaged in negotiations with the first bidder. It was possibly going to be a restaurant, and the negotiations didn't go anywhere. We didn't hear back from the representative of that bidder. So we're now just moving on to the second bidder, which is Habitat for Humanity. So it's just, and for the board's peace of mind, we published notice in accordance with the TIF Act, and we're just moving on to the second bidder because the first bidder didn't materialize.
To the best of your knowledge, is nothing else promised, TIF assistance, or?
Nothing else. It's a
anything like that?
It's a just a cash offer of $30,000, and the purchase is as is. So.
Okay, it's prior to this coming up before the board, there was an agreement between the village. It preceded my time on the board, between the village and another vendor, in which he was going to convert it into a restaurant, and he had received some assistance from the village. He had an agreement, et cetera. I would assume you've talked to him and taken care of all of that.
I can't speak to that, Trustee. I haven't seen that agreement, but I would. That was before my time as well.
Okay.
Number one, as it relates to the agreement, I don't have any documents that were signed as it relates to that agreement. The property at 2126 South 17th has been gutted out, and the contractor was paid. In June of 2018, Private Capital Equity Trust number 837-2018, located at 429 West Ohio Street, Suite 111, Chicago, Illinois, 60654. Attention Tiffany Webb. They submitted an offer, and we have not received any funds from them as it relates to moving forward. I am aware of several emails from council as it relates to this particular property, and we've had no response. Again, when we ask for the money, everything changes. So at this point, the next bidder, or the next nonprofit who submitted a offer was Proviso Habitat for Humanity. And I had mentioned before at our last board meeting that ideally what we're looking for is to create the tax base. But at this point, Habitat for Humanity has been consistent, and I think Ms. Rose Robinson is here representing Habitat for Humanity. And they are the only ones that have expressed an interest and come with their money, to make a long story short. again, so this is, I have their initial offer and I have their bank statement behind it.
Just back up a little bit. You said that, the guy that was gonna build a restaurant, that you had no signed documents from him detailing any kind of, deal or arrangement, correct?
That's correct. I have.
When I came on the board, that deal had already been made, but, we paid that guy.
No,
You
he
know,
didn't. No, he didn't.
We paid-
The
we-
contract,
No, we
right?
didn't.
We paid
Oh,
it.
who we paid?
We paid a contract on the village's dime because it's village-owned property and we had to repair the building. We had to get the building up to code for it to be occupied, John.
That wasn't his
And
guy?
no, that was part of the agreement. The part of the agreement was that, there was gonna be TIF assistance. I'm sorry if I interrupted folks, but, Madam President, if I may.
No, it's informative, please.
So here's how this went. The building had quite a few issues. Part of those issues were the responsibility of the village in order to get it up to code to make it occupiable. In other words, we couldn't sell it, we couldn't put anybody in there because it wasn't inhabitable. What happened was when they got in there, they found it was in worse condition than we originally thought. We found out that the electrical was messed up, there was mold and some other issues.
Plumbing,
damage,
roof.
all kinds of issues. That was on the village's dime. That wasn't part of any type of TIF agreements, it was our property. So it wasn't part of the TIF agreement. The contractor was a friendly contractor and we got a reasonable price on it. Dave, you can speak to this just yourself. The price for what they did wasn't out of line with what they did. He just happened to be a friendly contractor. But no, the guy didn't get any money from the village. No TIF money was dispersed at all. That
So
money was paid out of the general
So
fund.
at this point, we have no legal ties to him?
None.
Okay.
None. And secondly, it wasn't him that was buying the building. It was a third party that was buying the building to put him in the building. The person buying the building is not the same guy that had the agreement with us originally, John.
Okay.
The only thing as Trustee Jones stated, the only thing that was done was we made the building code compliant.
Yeah.
In terms of we gutted it out, we made sure that the utilities were functioning, and we repaired the roof.
Yep.
And that's where it sits right now.
Yep.
So they have a blank canvas to work from.
It's a square box.
To move in or do what they want, and to also to improve the property at this point.
Okay.
Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee Jones?
I have nothing else to add.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Trustee Balmerino?
Well, as was discussed when we were talking about this building several months ago, I would prefer that it was that it was being purchased by someone that would put it back on the tax rolls. As a nonprofit organization, I assume that they would not be subject to property tax?
Yes, that's a safe
Okay.
assumption.
Okay. My other concern, we do have a bank statement showing, which I imagine is supposed to show that they have sufficient funds for this. The bank statement is from April through May, but according to this bank statement, they will have roughly $16,000 left to rehab the building and move in there. I don't know that that would be sufficient. I can see Ms. Robinson. Okay.
Well, thank you, Ms. Robinson, for letting us know those seniors have money.
So, but it would be good to get something in there. It's been an eyesore, so,
That's it, Trustee Balmerino?
that's all.
So, let me just add to, Trustee Balmerino, as she talked about having a lucrative business back on the tax roll. That's what made sense to us when we initially, put the, property on the market to be solicited. The vendor or the ideal candidate, wanted us to give TIF dollars in an excessive amount. What was the dollar amount that they was asking for TIF?
They were asking TIF assistance in the amount of $125,000.
And that's just, we want to help people build, to help us build development-wise, but to make a purchase of $30,000 and then we turn around and give you $110,000, that didn't make sense. And so we did it the legal way to do it. I mean, although we don't have a tax revenue coming in, we do have a good, solid nonprofit there that do good things in the community, Habitat for Humanity. So there may be a good partnership with the village as we work with our food pantries and the space that they have and stuff like that. So,
And just to confirm, you're not looking for TIF assistance with this building, are you, Ms. Robinson? Okay, thank you.
okay. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Aye.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes?
And Madam President, this carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item, E. An ordinance enacting a policy statement expressing a commitment to encourage the development of business entities and the hiring of individuals defined as minorities, women, and persons with disabilities within the West Regional Enterprise Zone.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Horn, seconded by, was that Trustee Jones? Okay. Madam President?
The purpose of this ordinance is to enact a policy statement expressing a commitment to encourage the development of business entities and hiring of individuals defined as minorities, women, and persons with disabilities within the West Regional Enterprise Zone. Trustee Ely?
No comment. Or rather, I defer to our building commissioner who started to explain exactly what this is in connection with the enterprise zone. Please, go on.
We're, again, as I stated, we're in the process of submitting our application for the western suburbs, Maywood, Broadview, Bellwood, Merrill's Park, and part of Cook County to become an enterprise zone. Back in October of 2018, I don't have the specific date, the state of Illinois submitted to everyone a new application. Part of that application was a new criteria. And that new criteria was talking about cultural diversity. And I read verbatim, as was just stated by the mayor, that applicants are encouraged to provide a policy statement adopted by each unit of government through an ordinance which expresses a commitment to encourage the development of business entities and the hiring of businesses by minorities, women, and persons of disability, defined under the Business Enterprise for Minorities, Women, and Persons with Disabilities Act. So this is just a policy statement. It's not a mandate, but we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity, or I should say the state of Illinois wants to make sure that everybody has an opportunity in the enterprise zone and to either purchase a business or deal with them in terms of development. And that's exactly what this is. It's just a policy.
Mm-hmm. That concludes me.
Okay, Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee Jones?
No comment.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Trustee Brown Marino?
Nothing?
Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Aye.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes?
Madam President, this passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, item F. An ordinance providing for the issue of not to exceed $1 million general obligation limited tax bonds, Series 2018 of the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois, and for the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal of and interest on said bonds.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Properly motioned by Trustee Tierney and seconded by Trustee Jones. Madam President?
The purpose of this ordinance is to provide for the issue of not to exceed $1 million general obligation limited tax bond, Series 2018, and to levy a direct annual tax to pay the principal of and interest on said bonds. Trustee Ely?
Well, I defer to the representative from George K. Bond to
Mr. Reed?
go into detail.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, trustees, for having us here this evening. This is the annual issuance of rollover bonds by the Village of Broadview. The ordinance states it's a not-to-exceed number of $1 million. However, this year, as directed by the mayor and Finance Department, that we will be issuing $740,000 as opposed to the full $1 million. And the reason for that is the bulk of the money that the proceeds from this bond issue annually is generally used to pay outstanding alternate revenue source bonds.
as Trustee Brown Marino stated earlier. But we've always maximized the village's ability to borrow within its debt service extension base each year. This year, the village's debt service extension base is calculated at $1,020,000 and change. But as the village just undertook a larger borrowing for many of the capital projects that are going on currently within the village, the decision was made to not maximize underneath the debt service extension base this year, but to borrow a slightly smaller amount and only provide for what was necessary to pay for alternate revenue bond debt service and then to pay the cost of issuance of the current issue. In terms of this is on a separate but related note, the village's debt service extension base can be extended. It's not considered a capped fund. So while it is calculated in the overall movement of the levy up or down, that it's not, the increase or decrease is not governed by CPI each year. So if the village were to skip a rollover bond in a given year, it could maximize its borrowing under the debt service extension base the following year. So it doesn't affect the operating funds and the increase that can be obtained through the CPI. So we have been marketing these bonds over the last 3 or 4 days, and then ran an order period earlier today. We did get an order for the village's bonds at an interest rate of 2.8%. This is slightly higher than the village has paid last year, but I will say that that's basically driven by the fact that the Federal Reserve has been hiking short-term interest rates over the last 2 years. I could tell you this time last year when the village priced its bond issue at 2%, the MMD, which is the municipal market benchmark curve, was over 1.2% lower than it is now. So the benchmark curve has risen by 1.2%, but the borrowing cost for the village on this issue is gone up by 0.8%. A lot of that is a testament to the village and the credit rating that was raised in the summer by S&P. So that's a testament to the strong finances of the village, and then also the fact with rising interest rates, we've been able to, we've seen credit spreads come in just a little bit. So that's the basics of this issue, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Trustee Tierney?
No question.
Trustee Jones?
I have no question.
Trustee Holt?
No questions.
Trustee Brown Marino?
Am I right in assuming that if we would have gone to the maximum like we have in the past, we would be looking at the possibility of a backdoor referendum?
No, the rollover bonds are, they don't have any referendum requirements. Alternate revenue bonds do have, limited tax GO bonds do not have, as long as you stay within the 0.5% of EAV.
Right, that's what I meant.
Which the village's current EAV is just right at 250 million.
Okay.
So 0.5% of that is 1,250,000.
Okay.
So in the past, we've been in the $930,000 to $975,000 range. This year, we could have gone up slightly closer to $1 million, given the growth in the EAV, especially with the TIF coming back online. But the decision was made to issue the smaller amount.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Aye.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes.
Madam President, this carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, item G, an ordinance of the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois, authorizing and approving a First Amendment to the redevelopment agreement between the Village of Broadview and J&H Property Management, Inc.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Tierney, seconded by Trustee Horn. Madam President,
Thank
open
you,
for
Mr.
discussion.
Clerk. The purpose of this ordinance is to authorize and approve a First Amendment to the redevelopment agreement between the village and J&H Property Management, Inc. That's the property that's located at 17th and Roosevelt. Trustee Ely?
No comment.
Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee Jones?
No comment.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Trustee Brown Moreno?
When did we approve a redevelopment agreement with J&H Property Management?
Mr. Clerk?
That was last year, June 5th, 2017. I actually provided that information to an inquiry earlier.
To Trustee Ely?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I hadn't had a chance to talk with him since then, but I have.
I'll be happy to provide it for you as well. I can forward it right now.
Please do.
Yes, ma'am.
That's it, Trustee Brown Moreno?
That's all.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Aye.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Brown Marino.
No.
And Madam President, this carries 4-1, sorry.
Okay.
Item H, a resolution authorizing the village president to enter into and approve a certain agreement with Cook County through its Department of Public Health for the village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Horn, and a drag race tie between Jones and Tierney. We'll give it to Trustee Jones on this one.
You give it to Tierney.
Madam President.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. The purpose of this resolution is to authorize the village president to enter into and approve a certain agreement with Cook County through its Department of Public Health. Trustee Ely?
Well, this is some manual and necessary, and I'm gonna let our building commissioner explain exactly what it is.
Okay.
We do this every year. This is for the restaurant and retail food stores. The Cook County Health Department does inspections for us.
Trustee
That's
Tierney?
it.
And no comments.
Trustee Jones?
No comment.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Trustee Brown Marino?
No comment.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Aye.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes.
Madam President, this carries 5-0. Next item, I, a resolution authorizing and approving an agreement with Edwin Hancock Engineering Company for the furnishing of professional engineering services related to the preparation of the Phase 1 project development report for the 25th Avenue Shared Use Path for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Jones, seconded by Trustee Horn. Madam President.
Is Chris here?
Chris
Yes.
is here.
There.
Okay. Trustee Ely?
Well, I was going to ask Chris to tell us exactly what Hancock Engineering is going to do to us now. No, come on up.
Year 2000, 2000 years old.
So this work is in, the village received a grant from Cook County for $170,000 approximately 6 months ago. This is to do that work. It's a Phase 1 study for a potential shared use bike path along 25th Avenue from Roosevelt Road to the South Village limits where it connects to the Salt Creek Trail. This is just preliminary engineering work. It's a study. It involves a study of basically which side of the road would it work better on. There are some bridge crossings. We have to inspect the condition of those bridges and see if it would handle a bike path. Stuff like that. Basically, this preliminary engineering would bring us closer to being shovel-ready because a lot of times there's a call for grants for projects that are shovel-ready. It'd be nice to have one kind of sitting on the shelf if a grant came available.
Well, the path will intersect with the bike path that's at the creek.
Correct.
That's as far as we're going, right?
Right. The Salt Creek Trail basically goes from the Brookfield Zoo out to the woods in Schaumburg.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's it for me.
Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee Jones?
No comment.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Trustee Brown Marino?
No.
Roll call, please.
Yes, Madam President. We have Trustee Ely.
Aye.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes.
Madam President, this carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, item J, a resolution authorizing and approving an agreement with Hancock Engineering Company for the furnishing of professional design and construction engineering services related to the CDBG Alley Improvements, CDBG project number 1806-002 for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Jones, seconded by Trustee Horn. Madam President.
Chris, you want to talk about this project as well?
Could have stayed up there.
Again, this is, the village received another grant from Cook County in the amount of $300,000. This will be to perform the design and construction engineering for that project. It's the north-south alley between 25th and 24th, from Harvard down to the east-west alley just north of Roosevelt. And then it's also the north-south alley between 22nd and 23rd between Harvard and Fillmore. And they're going to be constructed with the brick cells. It's a necessary part of the grant so that there's green infrastructure. It'll capture the water before it goes in and combine sewer and stay out of our basements.
Trustee
Thank
Eaton?
you. I
Trustee
have
Tierney?
No questions.
Trustee Jones?
Oh, I have nothing.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Trustee Brown Marino?
Nothing.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Aye.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes.
Madam President, this carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, item K, a resolution approving the final budget for a certain intergovernmental agreement regarding the Ike 911 Center between the Village of Broadview and the Village of Maywood for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
I would like to make a motion to table this.
Second.
It's been properly motioned to table until when, Trustee Horn?
The next board meeting, please.
It's been motioned to table until the next board meeting and seconded by Trustee Tierney. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, this will be tabled to the next board meeting, which I don't have the date. We'll clear it up.
December 3rd.
December 3rd, 2019. Mr. Attorney, if you will, please.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I will address that, and I would like to address something I said previously. Rather than just pass out the statute, we will research the look-back provisions of the property tax code without doing an extensive amount of research, but we will determine its validity for the village. I just want to make sure that we're clear with what we're going to do. We're not going to make this a federal treatise on the project, but we will make sure that it is applicable to the village relative to the situation at hand. Everything else I said stands, but I prefer to do the research than just say I'm going to pass out a statute if the board. Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Next item on the agenda, item 9, applications for the authority to expend funds, grand total $585,388.50. Before we move to vote, Director Ames talked about every single one of these earlier in his report. Would we like to take these all at once, or would we like to take them individual, Madam President?
I prefer to take them individually.
One of them's mine.
You're right. Okay, so we're gonna start with the first
Do all
one.
the public.
Well, I was just going to say, I missed, Madam President, if I
No,
may.
go ahead.
So you got 1, 2, 3, 5 here listed for PW. Artistic is assigned to the administrative department.
wrote the PO.
So we can do the public works all together.
Okay, so we'll
that's
consent to
okay.
do all the public work ones, which include Patent Cat for $48,440, Rush Truck Center for $288,348, Curry Motors for $133,254, Patent Cat again for $136,870, and Richmond Electric for $5,000. I don't have a total for you, but I'll get my calculator out.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Jones, seconded by Trustee Tierney.
And yeah, the total is $611,912.
Can't be that much, sweetie.
I thought we,
It can't be 600, if all of them
It's
is
gonna be less than-
580.
oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were asking for all of it. Sorry about that.
I'll get the total. Madam President, did you want to?
Don't have her count nothing for us.
Excuse you?
Trustee Ely? That was my fault.
I'm just playing.
Whatever. No. Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee Jones?
What about Ely?
I did call you, you didn't say nothing.
I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you. And usually I can hear you.
Okay, well, let me go and we'll
very
circle
well.
back to you. Trustee Tierney?
Yeah, yeah. It's,
No, I said trustee Tierney, we'll circle back to you
Yes,
because we
that's
had
fine.
already started.
okay.
Trustee Jones?
A couple of things. Number one, I guess my questions are for finance, not PW, about how we're gonna finance it. Are these, purchases all in our, current budget? Or are these gonna be, Tom, either one of you guys, I don't care which one, Tom? Tom's volunteering, you know, I don't know, hey, we'll give you, Tim, we'll give you 10 chance to sit down for a minute, I guess. Come on, Tom.
What we're asking to approve purchase orders at this time. If you look at this year's budget, the amount for equipment was not this much, but by doing this purchase order, we're committing at this time to take delivery in 6 months, which will get us into the next fiscal year.
Well, that's where I was going.
Yes, yes. So by doing this in our budget and on April 30th, we'll be including those trucks, which is roughly 521.
Is 100% of this gonna go into next year's budget, or are we splitting it between the current budget and the coming budget, or future budget?
We are splitting it between the current budget and the upcoming budget. The purchase orders that are stretching out into next fiscal year would be in that budget. In this year's budget, I believe, had 580,000.
So are you only talking about the 450s?
Yes, for next year.
For next year's budget?
For next year's budget.
So what's the amount for next year's budget, Tom?
Overall, or just for these items?
Just for these items. What we're talking about is these items right here.
3, 4.
The 450, the 288 back in
Yeah, it's the 288 and the 133.
Yeah, okay. So the 288 and the 133.
Right. And then the rest of the items were included. Now, what you haven't asked me is where's the cash coming from?
That was my next. Wait, hold on. That's in the list. Are we going to be using the bond for this? Are we going to be using one of the funds? How are we going to be paying for this?
At this point, we could do it either way. So what becomes the most advantageous in the beginning of next year is how we would do it. It was allowed for.
What's the plan?
The plan is, let me say what the plan is,
Yeah.
because the plan was with the bonds that we just entertained, for the infrastructure, all of this equipment was included with that bond. So the bond.
So
we
the
use
funds are
For
there.
the capital, the funds are there for us to use for the purchase of the,
Correct.
that's what probably took so long for Public Works, outside of them justifying why we needed to purchase new equipment.
Justification.
Right.
So 100% of the purchases are going to be funded by the bond?
Yes,
Yes.
the bonds that have already been issued and the money's already in the bank.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that's what I was getting at. So this is not coming from any of the current trust funds that we have?
No.
Exactly.
Any of our funds? All right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it?
Any other questions?
Trustee Horn?
Just for the record, my math was right.
Was it 611, 912?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, my calculator went on early.
Just want to let you guys.
Or maybe we don't need to have Kevin doing no numbers.
I'll make the corrections for the record when the time comes.
But no questions, though.
Trustee
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Trustee Horn, you're coming up with 611?
611, yeah, 611,
What's
912.
the actual
For
number,
Public
Trustee
Works.
Horn?
For Public
Oh,
Works.
okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't include, okay.
That don't, yeah.
Right, just for public.
Yes.
That bond money's really burning a hole in your pocket, isn't it?
That what?
I think that this is foolhardy. I'm not comfortable with this kind of expenditure. We just, the 12 million was our total bonding ability, and now we're just trying to find ways to.
That's not true, that was included in the bond.
No, I know, that's what I'm
Oh,
saying,
okay.
you know, I mean, it's just, I think that this is a mistake. But
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, can we
That's
get a
all.
roll call, please?
Whoa.
Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Ely, you right, I'm sorry.
As, I tend to agree with Trustee Brown Marino. I think this is too much all of a sudden. I'm concerned about, even though it's been stated that the bond money that we just got is going to pay for this, we still don't have a final audit for the 911 center. We don't know what that's going to be out of the $12 million in bonds. We're committed to saving $2 million for the truck route through the industrial area,
you know, and that this is more than $500,000 worth of something else comes up, and that $12 million is gone. This is, to me, this is just too much at one time. One of these vehicles is a 2013. Obviously, it takes a lot of wear and tear. The several had an attachment to them that they were spending nearly $5,000 a year on repairs for them. I just see this as too big of an expense, with the exception of the Richmond Electric for the power, for the water tower. That's a necessary thing, but the other stuff, accessories and big trucks, etc., I see it as being too much. That concludes my comment.
Thank you. Trustee Jones.
Can I
you
say
want to
something? Yeah, well, first of all, I've been very public about my opposition to a $12 million bond. There's no questioning that. However, at the same point in time, we do need all of these particular items that are listed here for different reasons. And if we're able to get them, we need to get them. Whether it's coming from the bond or whether it was coming from somewhere else, we still need to make these purchases because this is necessary equipment. And to your point, Trustee Ely, you're talking about how much it was costing us to repair these particular items, and we had and this is with having a mechanic in-house. But the particular apparatuses are 25 years old, 28 years old, in some cases as much as 30 years old, you know. So they're going to fall apart, just like anything else. After so much wear and tear, and over time and weather and the whole 9 yards, they fall apart. And something that's 2013, I don't know how long it's going to last, John, but I guarantee it's better than something from 1995 or 2000. But I only wanted to ask the question and to have it put on record where the money was coming from. And Trustee Brown Marino and Trustee Ely, while you guys have got some valid points, I will say this. What was passed was passed. The $12 million bond has been passed, and it included these purchases. These particular items were identified in the bond and that was the reason that the bond went to $12 million. This was included in it. So we can argue about it, squawk about it, BMC about it all we want to. But at the end of the day, it's something that we need to have it. And, you know, at this point in time, I'm prepared to support it simply because I know we need it. While I don't know that we needed to necessarily do it through the bond or not, doesn't matter, you know. Tom?
I just want to point out, because it keeps getting said over and over and over again, it's not a $12 million bond.
It's 10.8. I know, it's 10.8. I know, but
well, we go add a million here and a million there, pretty
well, yeah, it's a $10.8 million bond. I know that, Tom. Thanks. Yeah, but that's all I got.
My point was that I'm not doubting that we need any of these vehicles. I simply said that it was too much at one time. It's good that it's being pushed out 6 months before delivery. That's 6 months that we give ourselves. But over $500,000 in one shot, it's just too much for me at one time.
Well, John, you know, I understand that, and I don't want to talk for the mayor, you know, and I know the mayor's probably itching to say something, but I got to respond to this guy. John, while you might think it's too much at one time, there's nothing to say that in the future we'll be able to afford all this stuff. We can afford it. We can do it now. You need to do it now and get it behind you and have the stuff on hand. Tomorrow is not promised to nobody. Money's not promised to be here tomorrow. We could have any kind of catastrophic thing that could happen to us. We had it since we've been in office. We've seen 100-year floods come 3 times in 6 years. We've seen microbursts. We've seen horrendous snowstorms and stuff that have depleted our funds in some of the years. And that, all of that being said, if we can do it now, we might as well do it now. You know, how we do it, you know, we may differ on how we do it or how we go about funding it, but it's something that needs to be done. I fully support getting equipment for our personnel to make sure we can get our streets clean, make sure we can get our repairs done, make sure our fire department is up to speed, make sure the police department has what they need. I think it's a great idea, John. But you know, I'm gonna digress. I'm gonna get off my soapbox because I can talk about this all night. Because I've been a very, very big advocate about getting stuff for these guys. So that's all I got to say.
So let me just add to Trustee Jones as it relates to the equipment purchase. When Trustee Jones was the mayor, he did advocate to get this equipment in, but he didn't have the support of the board. And now that we have the support and we have the funds to make these purchases to enhance our village, to be able to do more and to be able to work in a capacity and not work with broken down equipment, Yeah, it's a big number that we're looking at for this equipment, but if you do the research on what this equipment costs for and what it's unique equipment, so that's why it costs so much. It's not something you can go out and purchase like a $40,000 car and replace that every so many years. So what I've instructed for the Public Works Director to do, now that we know what the equipment is, we know the model and the make and the life expectancy of this equipment, they are charged to make sure that we keep up with the documentation of this equipment. So then when it comes down in the next 10 to 15 years, whenever that time, whoever is in the seat to be able to say, well, we replaced equipment at this time, this is all the maintenance that was required. We're learning how to document things that we haven't been good at documenting in the past. So in order to move forward and have some great success, we have to put best practices in place. This is just putting a best practice in place to make sure that we have the tools that we need. So when the Public Works or the fire department or the police department need to move things around, we have the equipment and we don't have to go out and rent. We don't have to go out and borrow. We have the equipment in-house that we can do more with. So I understand that it is a big ticketed item, but we was conscious enough to say, could we afford this in our bond? Could this be a capital expense? This is a capital expense because of the nature of the large equipment and the dollar value on this equipment. So it's not that we spending money just because we have it or we burning a hole through the bond money. We doing due diligence with the monies that we have. And like I stated, Trustee Jones, when he was the mayor, he tried to get a lot of these things done, but didn't have success with the board that he had to work with.
Didn't have no money either.
And well, they could have done some things, but he just didn't have the support that he needed to function how a village should be functioning. And so now we at a place where we're able to function at the levels of excellence. So, Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. For the record, Trustee Horn's math was right on point. The total for the Public Works 5 POs came out to $611,912. The grand total of all of these that we will hopefully approve is $628,934.50. So we'll take a roll call on the 5 from Public Works, starting with Trustee Ely.
No.
Wow.
Nay.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Brown Marino.
No.
And Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
And the 5 POs from Public Works do pass 4-2. Next, we have from the Fire Department, PS Tracks in the amount of $2,550.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Tierney, seconded by Trustee Jones. Madam President?
Trustee Ely?
Well, I'm going to defer to our fire chief. Tell us what the tracks.
I'm not as exciting as Public Works today, I promise. PS Tracks is what we used for our vehicle inventory and basically our department inventory, as in our SCBA's, our masks, our gear, things like that. We used PS Tracks years ago because we used Firehouse, which was our regular program. We switched our program 2 years ago to emergency reporting. More efficient, cost effective, made sense. They did not partner with PS Tracks. They partnered with this company called Halligan. Halligan hasn't worked for us. Fortunately, we didn't sign a contract along with Halligan because we knew that PS Tracks was getting into emergency reporting. So now we are getting a refund from Halligan, and I'm going back to PS Tracks, who has not charged us for the past 3 months that we've been using them. And we just re-inventoried everything, and they opened up another section they also aren't charging us for. So it works out in the end.
You got any idea how much of a refund we're gonna get?
$600 and something. I don't know the exact amount.
Part of
So,
it at least.
yes.
And this
It's in the end, it should even itself out because we weren't charged for these 3 months as well.
So it's gonna be a license, an annual license agreement of $2,500?
Yes, $2,550, yes. And again, it's not just our vehicle inventory. I'll give you a quick snapshot of it. If guys go out and they're on a call and say an accident happens, PS Tracks has a program where they take a picture of the accident, they download it into the program. Once they get back to the station, then the mechanics can send it out to where it has to go. It also keeps track of all the cost of labor and all the costs for what we just had. We actually used PS Tracks to show you all the numbers before on that. Okay. So it really is efficient.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I've seen a demonstration of it. It's a good program. That's all I have.
I have none.
Trustee Hunt?
Nothing.
Trustee Brown Marino?
I have nothing.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. And this is for PS Tracks, $2,550. Trustee Ely.
Aye.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Madam President, this carries 5-0.
Thank you.
And lastly, we have for the Administrative Department Artistic Holiday Design in the amount of $14,522.50.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Jones, seconded by Trustee Tierney. Madam President.
Trustee Ely?
Well, it's, in past years, we've been doing Christmas decorations for approximately $4,000, but this is, we'll be owning these, so I can see the wisdom in the investment. That's it.
Thank you. Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee Jones?
This is a good opportunity for me to talk about this. Broadview for years had not had any type of holiday designs. We wanted to cheer up the town when I got in office back then. And we didn't have the funds, and so we ended up having to lease the stuff, and it cost us annually somewhere between $3,500 and $4,500 a year to get it done. For us to purchase this, as long as we maintain it, we're going to save money overall anyway, and we'll have our own stuff. We put it up whenever we get ready. We do have our own bucket truck, and we can actually mount the stuff. I would ask the mayor to have her office contact those businesses on Roosevelt Road, which is a follow-up to something that I had thought about, and see if we can get those businesses to actually adopt a pole out there and get them to actually help us decorate Roosevelt Road so it's not all us.
It's funny that you say that because that's something we was launching in the spring.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Yeah, it was something that I was on my to-do list, you know.
Yeah,
but
we did that in the corridors that I worked for in the city.
Yeah,
to do that, so it's a
get
great
all of them
program.
involved.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Good, that's it.
We on track.
Okay.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Trustee Brown Marino?
Well, you know, I like the idea of being able to decorate. As I recall, in the past, we were able to raise money to cover the cost of the rental. This is secondhand equipment, and I just hope that it's going to last at least 5 years.
It's not secondhand equipment. This equipment is coming from France.
Ordering it from overseas.
No, actually, if,
It's secondhand.
Yeah,
It
if-
says that in the description.
right.
We got
You
the
look
wrong
at the
description.
invoice.
Well, you better look at
Yeah.
a different description.
You look at the invoice, and it says secondhand
No,
decor.
it's wrong one, John. Artistic.
Artistic design,
Yeah, I don't have
artistic holiday design.
Right.
CPO.
So I'm kind of overwhelmed by all the money that we're putting
No,
out here.
that's not what they told us. Where is it? It's on
I
the
mean,
invoice.
almost
I see it on the invoice.
$15,000, even at $4,000 a year, this is gonna have to
So,
last. for
so let me
several
just
years.
clarify, it does say on the invoice that it's secondhand decor, but we're getting 15 at $395.50, so I guess for us, we would have to see what new would cost versus what is the.
Well, you see, that's just it. We weren't given any kind of bids or comparative, you know,
Well, this is a
pricing or
local,
anything like that.
this is a local vendor that
I know.
does a lot for us in the village of Broadview, so we want to support our local businesses. So this is a way to support what we can do. If we can get the purchase order approved tonight, we can come back and ask them what would it cost for new and circulate it through the trustees.
I'm sorry, what would it cost, what?
To get new.
To get new, and then we circulate it, but I would like to get the PO approved tonight, and then that way with it, so that you can see what the cost difference is.
It's kind of after the horse is gone.
No, that's, if the new is $1,500 versus, it's not rocket science, and then they local, so if light bulbs go out, they're here to replace the light bulbs versus us having to send it to out of state to get it replaced. So we
Right.
have someone local that can work with us if the equipment fail.
You still got them up there.
Mr. Clerk, can we get a
I
roll
think-
call,
I-
please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
I just have one more comment. Actually, they're not a local business. They're in Lamont, Illinois, but that being said,
No,
yeah.
it's right here.
Hold on a
It
minute.
is local.
They're on
They-
Parks.
They got a building there, but what I looked
gotta
at,
be a business.
they're located, the company is in Lamont. So they ain't local. They happen to have rental
Just because you have
space here to
multiple
work,
buildings,
you know.
does not mean you're not.
Yeah.
Oh, my
They
God.
are local, they do.
Oh, we
Trustee
agree.
Ely, yes
We
or no?
agree.
We do a
Aye.
roll call. Trustee Tierney?
I got you, Mayor.
Roll call vote?
Yes.
Roll call,
Yes.
trustee Ely is aye. Trustee Tierney is
Yes.
aye. Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
No.
Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
And Madam President, this
May I
carries
ask the attorney a question? I'm
4-1.
just curious. Could we have possibly approved this and given the mayor and staff some kind of direction that if new was not cost prohibitive and put a dollar amount to it, could we just agree to that? Because I think Christmas is too close, you know, and if in fact new is only going to be $2,000 more or $2,500 more, should we ask the mayor to tell staff to, you know, move on even at a higher rate? That's my question. I know that this says 14,000 right here and some change, but if we could get new for 18.
Yes, your question is whether the authorization is set forth on the PO was for the amount and to what specificity, Mr. Trustee?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that again, let's start off from the beginning. Yes, Christmas is very near. It is 31 days till Christmas, I believe.
Jesus Christ.
My math may be off. So we don't want to get our Christmas decorations the day before Christmas, correct?
Yeah.
That'd be silly. So the authorization for here is for the specific line items, or the specific items that's set forth in the product photos, correct?
Right.
Which we refer to as secondhand decor, as product photo is secondhand decor in the far left, correct? I have not read the scope for the general terms and conditions. I don't have it, read it, but I don't have it set to memory to say what replacement equipment is in there. I don't know if your question is, can we deviate from what's on here for first or second hand? The PO is for this equipment that's on there, and we can come back to it if it's.
Would it be okay if the mayor finds out that it's a certain price, to get a consensus from the members of the board to move on if the price is different than the one that's in front of us?
Well, I mean, the line item for the agenda only states artistic holiday design for $14,522.52.
Exactly.
So that the vote is technically for that. It is supported by the documents herein. I would not, the Open Meeting Act says that for us to vote on something, it has to be set forth as in germane, in text,
Got
to
it.
what's on there.
Got it.
The support on there, the trustees are not, I'm sorry to go on this diatribe.
That's
Chair,
okay.
trustee.
Stop right there. I get it. You know, you've answered my question, but I'm good.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Because we'll be here all night. You know, we've had these discussions that go on into the night. Thanks.
I apologize.
It's all right. Don't worry about it.
I've wasted half the time to Christmas just explaining the open meetings.
Mr. Clerk?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so that carries 4-1 again. All right, next item is the item 10, the village clerk's report. And just so the trustees know, we will not have closed session this evening. I wanted to start off by sending out prayer wishes for those families affected by this evening's situation over in Chicago, at 26 in Michigan at the Mercy Hospital. Was it Mercy Hospital?
Yeah,
Mercy Hospital, yeah.
And initial reports, when I left, showed that there was 4 people involved in the shooting. There was a gunman, there was an officer, and 2 other staff members. And last I saw, the gunman was killed and the officer had passed. I now find that all 4 victims have passed. So prayers and well wishes to their families, and it's getting crazy out here. On another note, I took place in the election process last election, November 6th, and I participated as an election judge, as I have in the past. And I am so happy to say that not only nationwide, but especially in the village of Broadview, voter turnout was way, way past what it has been in years. In fact, in ever. And I'm just going to give you some numbers so you know what we have done in Broadview as a village, because that's my main focus and my main concern as the clerk. In April 2017's election, that was the mayor's election, and those elections usually carry a little bit more weight than the off election where we vote for 3 trustees. That election, we had 5,803 registered voters here in the village of Broadview. Out of that 5,803, 29.97%, or 1,739 ballots were cast. Fast forward to November 2018, we increased our voter registration by 213 to a new total of 6,016 total registered voters in Broadview. Out of that 6,016 total registered voters, we had 55.14% of our registered voters cast ballots, which is 3,317 voters. That number is astronomical. And when I first opened up the polls that morning, the first thing we have to do is we have an open first envelope, of which there's a page of early voters. And usually it's 1 or 2 pages full of people. And the most I've seen in any election is 2. For precinct 33, we had 8 pages of early voters. So, number one, voter ballots cast were up, voter registration was up, and early voting was up. So that tells me a lot about what's happening in the country, what's happening locally. But just as important is 45% of the people that are registered did not vote. That comes out to 2,700 people in Broadview, and that's unfortunate. So I'm just going to encourage, I'm sure everyone in this room did vote. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell your other family members in the household that may not have gotten to the polls. It is very important to vote, and we need to exercise that right. Madam President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Next item is item 11, Village President, Madam Katrina Thompson.
Thank you. I want to address the public comments. So, Mr. Fields, he left? Okay, so I'm going to call him in reference to the water meter installation and the new leaf so that I can get more of what he's talking about, what they doing in Forest Park, because I don't know. Ms. Redmond, we addressed the the 17th property, and then the 911, we'll have that at the next board meeting. And then as it relates to the food pantry, the person that you're speaking of, if they come over, if you come pick up the gift card or whatever, you're more than welcome to do that. Or if you give me the contact information, I can ask Chief Uglin or Chief Kenny to take the gift card to the person that you're speaking of. But I do want to talk about the food pantry as it relates to the holiday giving season. We're here to support our food pantries. I'm here to support Trustee Brown Marino, even though she wears a dual hat in her role as an elected official and as the director of the food pantry. So we did have some dialogue during this week as it relates to how we make sure that the Broadview food pantry get the gift cards that was allotted to them. But the correspondence kind of lapsed. My grandmother passed. So I just have to be real honest with you guys. My family come first. And so when I got the email from Trustee Brown Marino, it was late Thursday because I looked at the email today. So my family come first. But we did have correspondence for her to respond. She didn't respond till late, but we do have the gift cards for the Christmas holiday season. So we're going to work with Chief Uglin and Chief Kenny as we do Operation Center, how we bless the Broadview Food Pantry with those gift cards. So we're going to have a meeting as it relates to that, and then we'll let Trustee Brown Marino know, what to expect with the gift cards. But we do have them. But the one that you're speaking of, we more than happy want the person to have it, okay? So that's that. Thank you, Ms. Morgan, for your appreciation of Trustee Jones and Trustee Ely supporting the food pantry financially. That's a big deal. And then Ms. Gray has left for the evening. I just want to say my grandmother passed on Sunday, the last Sunday, and I just want to tell the community thank you for your love and support during this time. It was difficult because my grandmother raised me with my mother. My mother was a teen mom, and so she meant a lot to me. So I just want to say thank you for your condolences and your support and love. I truly, truly appreciate that. So I'm going to read, I wrote something out for Thanksgiving because I didn't want to forget what I wanted to say before I say goodnight. But When we are thankful in our prayers, our focus turns away from ourselves into the goodness of God and all He has done for us. Our hearts are stirred with joy. Our joy begins to overflow, and the result is fruit growing to be more like Jesus, fruit sprouting all over the place. The art of Thanksgiving is consistent, steadfast, genuine, year-round thankfulness in all things He has in all things, for He is good. My prayer this Thanksgiving is that you all be blessed. Let's keep those families that had lost in Thousand Oak with the mass shootings, the fires that's in California, and recently so close to home at Mercy Hospital. We are in spiritual warfare, and so we have to stay prayed up, not just as a village, but as a state and as a nation. So just keep those families in your prayer. We wish you God's blessing this holiday season, and we love you, and God bless you. Good night. Can we get adjourned?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Jones, seconded by trustee Tierney. All in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. We are hereby adjourned at 9:59 p.m. Thank you.